Hello, everyone. Candi here with the Speak Up Virginia podcast. Before our regular programming begins, we are dropping in here with some late-breaking news updates that really have big impact on the state of Virginia. And I've got Todd Gackey here with me today. Welcome, Todd.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
He's our Vice President of Government Relations. And stay tuned for the rest of the programming because we also have some updates with Victoria coming up on the controversy in Fairfax County on abortion that you won't want to miss. But first, we just want to bring you two major items. First, Todd, I think I'll just share, we got some very sobering news on these Loudoun County boys. If many of you have been following this is the case where these young 15-year-old boys, they were in their boys' locker room and found out that they were secretly recorded by a girl identifying as a boy, and they just simply expressed discomfort with a girl being in their locker room. And it turns out that two of these boys, it has now been determined that the school district, the Loudoun County School District, put out a determination of guilty for sexual harassment under Title IX. So this is really serious because it really could, if this doesn't get removed, could follow them the rest of their lives. It's a serious determination.
Yeah, it's very serious, very disappointing. And our heart goes out to these families who are trying to fight to protect their children's innocence. That's what it comes down to.
And speaking of that, our Founding Freedoms Law Center is going to be doing everything they can to make sure to fight for these boys getting justice. And some of you might remember that there were three boys, one coming from a Muslim tradition and two from Christian households. And of course, they're expressing discomfort because they are acting out of their deeply held faith that this is not, this doesn't align with how they've been brought up, and also their privacy, they feel is being violated. But interestingly, you will remember that only one of those three had the charges dropped by the school district, and that was the Muslim student. So now you have pretty much the same fact set. They're saying, determination of guilty for just the Christian students. So I know our legal team is looking at that, so stay tuned because we're going to have big updates on that in the next podcast. But Todd, I also wanted to bring them up to speed on something that happened the day that we are taping this. We just came out of a vote at the Board of Health. Yeah. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, the Virginia Board of Health voted on a petition to initiate regulations to protect the privacy, safety of female athletes. They voted unanimously, 14-0, to approve the citizens' petition. So this is a huge win. It goes to show that the board recognizes the threats to the health and the safety of these female athletes. So we're really excited. This is some good news that we get to report.
Yeah, this is good news.
Yeah.
And it really is something that 14 members of the State Board of Health agreed that our state needs to be protecting girls' sports, protecting their safety and their privacy as a matter of health.
Yeah.
Why? How would you explain the significance of this vote?
Well, certainly, when you look at it unanimously, it kind of goes along with some of the polling that we see, where overwhelmingly the majority of Americans, 70, 80 and more of Americans agree that biological males should not be competing in female sports. And so that you have a government and agency organization, a board, now voting unanimously sends a strong message that they care about the well-being of our daughters playing in sports and being in intimate spaces.
Well, a shout out to all of you who answered the call to action. We had some very brave young women come out, especially, I'll just mention Carter Satterfield.
Yes, that's right.
A Roanoke swimmer.
Yeah, she was part of the Roanoke swim team, and they had a biological male try to compete on their swim team, and she endured a lot of physical and mental stress and anxiety over this, and she did a fabulous job in speaking to the issue.
Yeah, let's just listen to her for a minute, sharing her emotions when she heard the unanimous vote.
I teared up. The unanimous decision was awesome. It wasn't really what I was expecting, to be honest, but I'm so thrilled that people are starting to stand up and speak up for this common sense argument. Most people agree, but they're scared to speak up. I am proud to speak up and to continue to speak up for girls and women, protecting our spaces, our rights competition, and our opportunities. And I am so excited and ready for the next step. Don't be afraid to stand up. It's scary, but it's always worth it. And more people garnering support is always what we need. So thank you so much to everyone who's been brave enough to stand up and stand with us. And please continue to support us and speak out and speak the truth, speak the common sense, and protect these girls and women and our spaces and our competitions and our opportunities.
So Todd, what are the next steps? What happens now? It's not over yet, right?
No, it's not. So this starts the whole regulatory process. So there's going to be some forms where they'll have to explain the rationale for the regulations. The draft of the language will come out at some point, and there's going to be opportunities for the public to be able to weigh in on this and also offer their support as the process goes along. So, and we'll be keeping everyone up to speed on where it's at, and we're going to be intricately involved in this process as well.
So long story short, there's bureaucracy involved.
Yeah.
But there will be moments of public comment that will let you know about it. And I guess the governor does get to weigh in on this.
Ultimately, the governor will get to sign off on this.
Okay.
And so it's, it's a process, and we're going to continue following it and see where it goes. Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for making your voice heard. And now back to our regular programming. In a world where AI prays for you instead of your pastor and schools replace parents, where does that leave faith, family, and trust? In this week's episode, we tackle all of that. Plus, we cover the explosive Fairfax County public school scandal, where staff face accusations of secretly arranging and paying for abortions for minors without telling parents. From the Family Foundation, I'm your host, Candi Cushman, with our president, Victoria Cobb. Well, welcome everybody. Glad to have you with us for Speak Up Virginia. We've got some really interesting topics today. First off, I just want to mention we're going to be talking about actually a very serious topic, these allegations swirling around in Fairfax County, where there are accusations that school officials not only paid for a child's abortion, but also hid it from parents. And we're going to get into the details of that. But first, Victoria, I just want to come back to a topic that you brought up when we interviewed Terry Schilling. I asked you guys, what are your top concerns for the culture? And yours was AI. Your AI was one of them. So, I don't know if it's just that you put that in my mind, but I felt like I kept seeing headlines after that made me more concerned.
I mean, maybe I did, unfortunately, but also, or maybe AI was listening and then they started showing you reels and all sorts of things. Yeah, see, that's one of the concerns is these days it's sort of a combination of what AI is doing and also the screening that's going on that's filtering things.
We are all being psychologically manipulated.
We are being manipulated,
yeah.
Yes. But there's 100 reasons to be concerned about AI. There are good things. I don't want to act like I'm an anti-technology girl. There's a lot AI is going to be great for. I don't oppose using it in general.
Yeah,
but
I've used it.
Yeah, absolutely. It actually helped plan my last vacation very, very well.
Oh, fascinating.
So there are great uses for AI. But yes, in a world where we are more and more, I would say we're already in a place where we're more isolated from other human beings and more just our relationships. I mean, look at the kids that have grown up on devices completely from birth on and just the way they interact. And then you add AI into it where it's going to kind of fill gaps.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things I heard, I'm driving to work one day and I hear on this Christian radio station, they're talking about this app that was created it's an AI app that will pray over you. And, it was really interesting because they had callers calling in about it, and the radio host disagreed. He thought this was terrible. But one of the callers called in and said, look, I'm going to take any prayer I can. I don't care where it comes from. And this person started weeping on live. And the radio host ended up praying for him. And I was stunned by that. I mean, it just broke my heart. But I thought, okay, this shows we need to grasp the kind of isolation, trauma, fragmentation that is out there for people. This is why people just go there. And then, and then I was wondering if it was real, and I found something. But what is your, just real quick off the cuff reaction on just how easy it is for people to go to that when they're feeling desperate?
I mean, yeah, I think it's very culturally telling that people would want AI to pray for them, right? That's a statement that we really need to think about. And we got to be really careful because that means it's replacing the role of the church. I mean, who's supposed to be praying for you? You're supposed to have a body of believers around you that are there, walking alongside you in life and holding you accountable, praying for you, like meeting your needs. And something's obviously not there if we think AI is what we need to have somebody pray for us, right? So something's missing. So I think that's the biggest issue. I'll say one other thing, though, to not be just the total negative on AI. I mean, a lot of people, their faith traditions, you go to church and you might pray a pre-written prayer. That pre-written prayer could be from one of the great saints of the past. It could be a number of people, and you might say it congregationally, like we all read it out loud or whatever. Some of those are some of the best prayers. So if you didn't know that AI wrote it and it was something like that, is it that different? I'm just asking. I'm just trying to make it a little controversial here so that there's not just one side.
That is an interesting debate, and I want to come back to that. But first, I want to mention, I'll give, I don't know if I gave the redemptive part of that story because the radio host actually prayed for the guy.
And it sounds like that's what he needed.
Which is what we should be doing.
So maybe more Christian radio is what we need.
Yeah, or people.
More call-ins.
Or like us praying for each other.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see if this was actually out there. You know, I'm like, is this just some fluke thing on the radio? So I looked, and there was this pastor that made an AI tool where it's him, like a cloned version of himself that does automatic prayers. And I'm just going to share this clip real quick.
Okay, I'd love to have my own personal pastor, so I hit the Ron Carpenter Ministries archive and I call Pastor Ron. And after I call Pastor Ron, let's say, you know what? Let's say I'm not feeling good in my body. Carpenter, how can I help? Pastor Ron, I'm not feeling well today. Could you pray for me? Hey there. I'm sorry to hear you're not feeling well. Let's take a moment to pray together. Heavenly Father, I thank you that you know us and hear us. Right now, I lift up my friend to you. I ask for your healing touch to be upon. You'll know more about it? You have to wait. We'll tell you later.
All right. So I mentioned that this means we're missing something in the church if this person felt this dramatic need to be prayed for by artificial intelligence. But I'm now a little worried because if it takes the role of a pastor, there's been sort of this rise in celebrity pastor culture where pastors are more into the television sermons and all of that than the actual shepherding, right? The shepherding is the praying for people. It's the caring for people. And it just scares me a little bit if a pastor has AI to do more shepherding, which that's being very loosely used here, then I think we're just going to continue to give them more time for celebrity culture, less time for what I think the pastor's actually called to. So
yeah, that
actually alarms me a lot, that it's a pastor sort of remaking himself to do part of his job.
Yeah, and not only that, well, he's not the only one out there doing that.
Right. I don't want to pick on that guy. I'm sure there's others.
I found all these Jesus bots that are very concerning. We're going to put a few images here.
Okay, do you remember that whole make no image?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a commandment about that. Like we're getting really close to like a graven image or something that's...
All right. For those of you that are not on YouTube, you got to come check out our show on YouTube later and look at these because they're super creepy because you see like Jesus Christ image and then, how can I help you? It's very creepy.
So we're going to actually literally replace going to the source itself. That scares me a bit. No, more than a bit. That scares me a lot.
Yeah. And then I'd also been seeing these articles that there's actually been people reporting psychosis, getting in a spiral, interacting with AI. And it's really interesting, Victoria, because I read this article in Psychology Today. And it explained why this happens because AI is a machine that is giving us what we want to hear, like almost like a fortune teller.
Oh, yeah. I think for sure this is going to create more... what's the term? Sort of spiral, like your news and everything you're getting is going to be more centered around you. You're going to get into more of an isolated situation because AI feeds you what you want and it's custom and it builds on itself. And yeah, I mean, not all of it is done that way, but if you're going down that road, I can kind of see how that would happen.
I mean, when you think about it, when we use AI, we're asking it for what we want. And that's true if you're interacting with an AI bot or it's going to give you what it thinks you want. And then what we want, and this is so theological, it gets back to that theology because what we want inside of us is not
selfish.
Light.
It is not right. It's self-centeredness. We want more. Yeah, that's not good. And also, I'm worried about people confusing this is an AI source versus this is when you go search something on the internet. Are you on the AI feature or are you on regular internet looking for all the sources, right? Because that's going to start if we start thinking we're getting objective things and it's actually AI that is giving you what you want at an angle that you want it at, then we're really, really going to start not knowing what's true, untrue, even to be able to compare sources to get to what might be true.
Or that others want you to have their angle, because who's behind these Jesus spots? Like, who's feeding the information?
That is a great question. I'm trying to imagine Elon
Jesus
Musk
is giving.
back there. I mean, I don't want to pick on him, but it's people like that are in the tech world that create these amazing innovations. So I kind of am envisioning like Elon Musk and like, what would I do if I were creating a Jesus spot? I don't know.
Yeah, it's scary. I will, on a personal note though, I see where this is a human temptation, because it is so easy myself, if you have an anxiety about something, if it's medical, we had some mice get in our home, whatever it is, got a little concern, I just want to go get an answer immediately.
Get answers
immediately, million times a day. So I can see where I can't get a hold of my pastor. I don't have the patience. I want immediate comfort. And that is where we can have that idol in our life.
I also just wonder about the speed. We've talked about how fast people are getting information now, and just the speed of our culture now, how much you have to work, how fast you're working. This AI thing ramps that up even more. So again, like at what point is it we're on such a fast hamster wheel? Where is the rest? And where is prayer is part of recentering, right? So if we're literally like part of the hamster wheel is the recentering,
well, we've all seen those tests with animals where they keep pinging the thing for more food.
I kind of feel like we're becoming.
Yeah. Well, I want to mention another thing. John Piper, I thought he had an excellent take on this, confronting this. Let's just listen to what he had to say about these Chat GPT, these AI bots.
I asked Chat GPT. I typed in, please compose a 30-second prayer to God in the spirit and theology of Don Carson in praise to the glory of God's grace. Click. 3 seconds later, this is what I was given. Gracious Father, we bow before you, the sovereign Lord of history and redemption. From eternity past, you purposed to lavish grace upon undeserving sinners through the blood of your beloved Son. We praise you for the glory of your mercy, unearned, unmeasured, made manifest in Christ crucified and risen. May our lives, redeemed and sanctified by your Spirit, be vessels of praise to the riches of your grace. To you be glory forever and ever. Amen. That's a machine. As I'm asking, is that praise? No! This people, these machines, honor me with their lips and their bites. And their heart is far from me.
That was convictional. I love the power and him just confronting it. And it kind of sounded like maybe initially the church members didn't know quite how to respond at first when he said, is this praise, and because it sounded like a really good prayer.
Yeah, this is the hard thing, because it certainly mimics the real thing, but there's no soul.
Yeah, like he says, soulless.
Praying is about our soul connecting with the maker. And when those pieces aren't there, it's really more a psychological feel-good thing. Like when people say our thoughts are with you, I never know what that means. I'm really looking for them to pray and actually ask God to intervene for me. But I think it's sort of in that direction.
Maybe we should offer AI thoughts then and not prep it anyway.
Yeah, well, because there's spirituality. There's, spirituality. And then there's Jesus. Those are not the same things.
But back to your point on, is it really, what's the difference between a prayer that someone did historically that we are now reusing?
Right.
And I've heard some people argue or bring up, okay, the difference is
there was a soul in the one that created the first one. I would say that's, yeah.
What do you really think? Do you think there's a place where you could use an AI prayer?
If AI was taking the prayers of the greats who had souls and combining them to make something amazing, I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting question.
If you took, gosh, give me something that St. Augustine said, and then give me something that, I don't know. But boy, it's hard, because at least when you're reading prayers that others have written, you know the context behind them, you know the real person behind them, there was a sincere faith. It's not like you're reading a Buddhist prayer and applying it in a Christian setting.
So the bigger danger here is when you're using it like a vending machine prayer, or comfort, and celebrity pastors using it to give people that vending machine. But we've also seen really creepy things happening in the political, media world. Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, AI is used for, literally recreating fake news and fake people, even like literally creating images that didn't exist to make some candidate look bad. We've seen it. I mean, there's a lot of, and honestly, this circles back, you're probably trying to go somewhere else, but it also circles back to the whole, we haven't mentioned like pastors doing sermons with AI. That's a whole controversial thing too. That's because you want your pastor in touch with God as he's supposed to be hearing from God and conveying it to and what's the role of AI in that too.
Yeah.
So
I saw there was actually a whole church worship service in Europe with AI. But anyway.
Oh gosh, I hadn't seen that.
But yeah, they're able to use these photos and make people look like they're coming alive again.
And this in candidates and in politics, that is super scary. And then the dead, if they're not even alive anymore, they can take your voice, like that was recorded on TV or on radio if it was a long time ago, and they can kind of create a person out of it that as if they're still existing today. We could have Ronald Reagan right here with us if you just grab all his quotes off of TV and
okay. I went to Karate Kid recently. I'm just going to confess that.
Hey,
and they had, I'm going to forget his name. They had the mentor, the actor that's passed away now.
Yeah.
He was AI generated, and I thought, well, that's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool that you can kind of get flashbacks ish.
Yeah, but Jim Acosta, am I saying his
reporter,
name? This former CNN pundit took it to a whole new level.
Yeah, so he actually interviewed a fake, like an AI avatar is basically what you would. So imagine taking someone who had died, and here's what's really twisted is I don't know why he chose to do this.
Well, the parents, I think the parents.
Oh, that's right, the parents had created this.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you some history. They took a child, 19-year-old, who had died in the Parkland shooting.
7 years ago.
7 years ago. And I guess the parents had created an AI avatar as if the child was still
talking to us,
like interacting with. I guess when you miss somebody, that was maybe their technological solution to feeling like.
I'm not sure I want that or not, but anyway, go ahead.
That's a lot. That's a lot to process. I mean, because you're grabbing, like when you lose somebody, you are grabbing at like what you can hold on to, right? Your memories, I know people that have voicemails that they've held on to of really old technology.
I've thought about like my grandparents, but I'm not sure I want to see that. I'm not sure, but go ahead.
So anyway, so these parents had created this thing, and so Jim, the reporter, basically the CNN pundit, basically did an interview with this AI created entity. Is that what I call it? What would you?
Of their student.
Of their student, but it's not really their student. So I don't want to have the replica. I don't want to say it's their kid. And asked him questions as if he was here.
Well, it was today. It was on the day of his 25th birthday.
So I guess it was kind of, what would you say today?
Yeah. Do you have a message for us? And it's obvious the message is pre-fed.
Correct.
It's, but for the way he promoted it too is like it's a real interview. When I saw people making the point, there are actual survivors out there that can give, actual responses. And it was a little creepy if you saw a little bit of it. It didn't feel like a real person. But I do want to say I can appreciate or empathize with the parents' grief that it should have been his 25th birthday. And just anything to see his voice. Sure. But the way the former CNN guy used it is just really atrocious.
Well, and also just think about this conceptually. Who we are today is made by who we were in the last 6 years. What we would say today is so much not just what we would have said 6 years forward if you just jumped us forward in time, or 7, I guess in this case. But it is, what we would say today is built on everything that's happened in the last 6 or 7 years. And so it's not actually really that real. I mean, if this child had lived those 7 years, he might have something very different to say because those 7 years would be filled with different life experiences, different knowledge, different technology. So it's a little bit, trying to, and I think, sci-fi shows do this kind of thing too, TV, but now it's real. So that, like real.
And AI is different than a hologram.
Yeah. So it's just sort of like I think sci-fi has tried to say, like, imagine somebody jumping forward in time. and they sort of have, but in that case, they usually, when you see it in a sci-fi, the person has not modernized. They just literally are bouncing forward into modern future.
Right.
In this case, it's like you're talking to somebody acting as if he's been here for 7 years, but it's not a real, anyway,
Yeah.
I'm going too long, but it's a little not.
Yeah, and again, it gets back to this can be
It's a
easily
psychological,
manipulated.
yes, we're doing this for
Yeah.
our own psychological, and it makes you wonder whether you're going to short circuit real healing with
Right.
these kind of things, right? Like, is there closure and resolution that needs to happen that trying to do this with AI
Well, I get back
interferes
to
with?
some things are sacred, like our relationship with God and praying for each other and human life. And I understand the parents gave permission for this, but in other cases, this a
It
sacred
could be
life
used-
could be used, manipulated. So anyway, all right. Well, I'm going to take a hard direction change here because I do want to get to what we mentioned at the top, and that is what's happening in Fairfax County. This really is quite scandalous. You know, this evidence coming out. It's yet another controversy coming out of Nova. One
Always,
on top
always
of the other.
Northern Virginia.
Yes, they're really on a roll here. But Victoria, I want you to tell us, what do we know about this case and what are the larger ramifications that really all parents should be alarmed about?
Yeah, so this is kind of starting the details are just kind of slowly coming out, but basically what we have is we have a whistleblower teacher, Zenaida Perez, who has basically put out into the public now that there have been not one, but two girls, and we don't know how many others, so that's the concerning part, is could this continue to unfold? Two girls who basically have acknowledged to this teacher that they were taken by a social worker at the school, at Centerville High School, to an abortion facility, that their abortion, in one case, they had the abortion. In the other case, the girl actually left, didn't want
Ran
the
out the
abortion, ran
door.
out the back door. But that the abortion that did occur was actually paid for. And it's still unclear, is it by the social worker, is there the school, but it was paid for by someone other than the child. And
The reporter that's come out with all this is saying the principal knew about it, the principal that was there at this time.
Yeah. I mean, so the school was involved. And the most important thing, the parents were not involved. They never notified the parent, legal guardian, nothing, which is, just a reminder, Virginia law. So totally illegal, let alone just unethical and awful.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, and it's interesting, all the information that is coming out about this and the documentation behind it, because also, you know, the reporter shared, it's Walter Kurt that had put out this article, and he had, we're just going to put this on the screen, this handwritten document from one of the students. I think it was the 17-year-old that provided a handwritten note, you know, testifying that this occurred. And you can see here that she says, I'm currently in the 11th grade. And last year I went to see this social worker. The social worker is actually named. And that this person scheduled the appointment at the abortion clinic in Fairfax, paid the cost without informing my family. You know, and she says I was only 17 years old. And, you know, Victoria, I gotta think, you know, if there are two girls that have said this, you know, and then the other
Are there
one,
others?
The other one I heard sounds like was 5 months pregnant. So that's not an in and out thing. That's on the table.
No,
and
that
your
is
parents not knowing.
That is, I mean, just the idea that your daughter would go through this without you knowing, and that the school, adults, could have brought you into the loop. In fact, should have and legally had to. But also the abortion center, they can't let that girl have an abortion without their parents. So again, the abortion center's wrong also. It's just, it's a stunner all the way around. And no one's asking, or not enough people didn't ask at that point, who were the fathers of these babies? Because these girls are underage. Are they also underage?
Yeah.
Was it statutory rape? I mean, we don't know what's being covered up
coming
here.
from a community that is often exploited.
Right. Exploited, vulnerable.
Yeah. Now, thing that sticks out to me is if you have two girls testifying to this, and they're
Same social worker.
Same social worker, same abortion clinic.
Same school, same clinic. I mean,
how big of a pattern is this?
That's what's alarming, is this doesn't sound like a one-off. And these girls are now older, and so it's coming forward. They're a little bit older to deal with it. But it's just, I mean, imagine being 17 and not having your parents. And I get that you're scared in that moment. So you go to an adult, but the school's job is to know that the parents care the most for that child, that the parents are going to be the best person for that child to confide in. The parents know whether there is, one of the girls was told she has no other choice. There is really no choice. The parents know whether there really is no choice or whether they're willing to bring that baby into their family. That teacher has no idea what the choices are and gave that child no vision of any other choice, of adoption, of support by the community. We know there's wonderful people ready to help, pregnancy centers. I mean, but none of that was presented to these girls. They were given one option and manipulated into it.
Yeah, and one of them went through with it, and one of them managed to run out the door.
Yes.
One thing that is really interesting, the way Fairfax County works. So when this story breaks, they put out their disclaimer that they announced, we just learned about this. We're having a huge investigation. Right. And then I got to hand it to the reporter here.
Good job.
He had a recording in the hopper waiting for the moment that they're saying, we just learned about it.
It's kind of like they knew a Fairfax school would lie to parents. I think they've seen that before. Loudoun County, I'm looking at you.
Yeah. So he puts out this recording where there's a Fairfax County investigator apparently talking to the teacher that's brought all this to light. And, so they're saying that they knew about it as early as May. Maybe it's possible even before. So, I don't know about
I saw some reports
that
I saw some reports that they were told there have been 7 different times. I don't know the accuracy of all these things, but 7 different times the school was made aware this had happened. So, I mean, this isn't minor. This isn't like, they just found out and they're, no, apparently they just chose to cover it up. No surprise there.
Yeah, kudos to the teacher. This is I think an ESL teacher. This is English as a second language.
Right.
So you can understand, it would be easy to exploit these girls, and kudos to this teacher that has had the courage to keep making sure this gets out, and the girls that are willing to come forward and give this written statement.
And I feel for the parents. I mean, I can remember there's actually, I think it's still going on, litigation in Bristol where a 15-year-old got an abortion without parental consent, and he's suing for, crazy amounts of money against that abortion facility for allowing it to happen, because you violate the law, but you violate the sanctity of the family and the decisions a family wants to make, and that's tragic, and that's what you got going on there in Fairfax.
Well, it also could be criminal because, again, if this is proven to have happened, it would actually be a very, egregious violation of state and constitutional law. And that's why both our governor and attorney general have put out statements.
I'm so glad we have in place the people we have in place at the top of our Commonwealth, because they take these things seriously. They don't just blow them off. They don't just side with the abortion industry. And you can have governors and attorney generals who will look the other way for the industry, and these guys are not. So I don't know if we should put on the screen the statements.
Put the governor's statement. You can see he's announcing that he is directing the Virginia State Police Bureau of Criminal Investigation to open a full investigation. So kudos again to the governor for that. And, the attorney general went on Fox News, Jason Mieres, and he was very powerful. I mean, he made the good point that you cannot, as a school official, you can't even give aspirin without getting parental consent. And now are we talking about secret abortions? You know, so that's crazy.
We should play that. We're going to play that clip.
Let's just listen to him.
We've seen so often these school administrators that decide their judgment can replace the judgment of a parent. Now, put this in perspective. A school district cannot even administer so much as an aspirin to your child during school hours without explicit parental permission. So what the governor has announced is the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, that's our equivalent of the FBI with the state police, to get to the bottom of this. They're very, very thorough, and they're going to get some answers, I think, for the governor and for the public on what exactly happened here, what are the facts, and also whether there's any misallocation of state funds that was involved in this. Because it is against the law in Virginia for you to have an abortion for a minor and not get parental consent.
He did so well at getting right to the crux of the issue, is that these leftists in our school system, they think they actually, they know better than parents. Than the parent, and they should take authority and even possibly hide it.
Well, and Fairfax, it feels to me like the school is pretty openly saying that, because their policy they came out with their policy statement, and it's something like, I'm not going to get it exactly, but we'll make every effort to make sure the girls notify their parents about their unplanned pregnancy. Well, guess what? That isn't the law. The law is that the school should be telling the parents if they're going forward with an abortion because there's parental consent for abortion. So it's like we literally have policies at the school level that don't fully reflect what the law even says.
That's a really good point.
It's a mismatch.
It seems like now there should be room to go and say, get your policy aligned with the actual
100%.
state.
The policy has to change. If there is an unplanned pregnancy, the parent needs to be involved because either she's keeping this child and she's going to need that support, or there's an abortion pending and the parent has to be involved anyway by law.
All right, now tell us how this really sends a warning signal on a bigger level statewide for parents.
Yeah, the bottom line is that this right now, you could say, is a one-off or an illegal situation that should never have happened in Fairfax. But what's really scary is that, one, it's happening anywhere, but two, is that we have people in our Commonwealth that want to make this the norm across Virginia, because we've talked about it a lot on this show and other places, but we have pending in Virginia the abortion amendment. And what this is a change to our state constitution. And it's not just a change that makes Roe or our current standards sort of the permanent course of action. It's way worse than that, because it would strip away this parental consent law that is so important in the life of a child, and it would shield these schools. The abortion amendment, if it actually became part of our state constitution, gives basically no liability to anyone who aids and assists a person, an individual, which is not defined as an adult, so teen. Anybody who helps that person get an abortion is basically, no ramifications whatsoever could ever occur to that. And that is the school. So they're kind of, essentially you could say, now we know why we have an abortion amendment moving forward, to protect Fairfax public schools and others who are engaging in this kind of parental deception.
And as you said recently, if this happens, if this gets into our Constitution, this is going to be the new normal. It's not going to be an anomaly.
Yeah, it is absolutely going to be not a one-off, but perfectly allowable, acceptable, and could become the actual. You could make a perfectly legal, known pipeline from school to abortion facility. And
they're always talking about pipelines.
And if it's a right, there's no reason to say that there wouldn't be taxpayer funding. So we could literally end up paying taxpayer dollars, like create a fund in a public school. Look, envision this. We create a fund in a public school, and this is the abortion fund, and it sits right there in the nurse's office. This is her Advil fund, and this is her abortion fund. And when a girl shows up, they just send them on over to the local clinic. This is horrific. And I feel the need to remind people that knowing all of this, when you think about this year's, and I'm going to get slightly political for a split second, when you think about this year's elections, any sitting incumbent in the House of Delegates, you could basically know whether they voted for this Fairfax situation or they didn't. Because if you look at their vote on that first round of the constitutional amendment as it moves forward, if they supported that amendment, they support what happened in Fairfax. That's what they're doing. And they're saying, we want this across the state. So we need to be heads up and eyes open. And I guess that's sort of a plug for our voter guide that'll be coming soon, because you're going to want to know how they voted on this. We have a report card, so you would already be able to see it on that.
On our website, familyfoundation.org.
Yeah. So anyway, I just feel the need to say we better be eyes wide open, because now when we see this constitutional amendment, you should be thinking Fairfax, this situation.
You also want to check out our Stop Unlimited Abortion website, so you can find out how you can take action, start sharing information with people to raise the alarm on this. So again, familyfoundation.org. Look for the banner Stop Unlimited Abortion to get to that website. But Victoria, I really think you make such an important point. This shows how to vote, because what this case does is reveal what the leftists really want, why they want that control. So, it brings up a whole bunch of things for me. The community health centers they're always trying to push through in schools. What do you think is going to happen in those?
Yes, for those who don't know, they want school to become the comprehensive health location. So your kid goes and gets an education, and they also get all their health services. Imagine if they are not including parents now in unplanned pregnancy, and they start more health services. What else are you not going to know about your child? And truly, like most of our, not even just the House of Delegates, but most of our statewide candidates have made statements on things like parental consent. We know, I was stunned that in an interview, you've got, at the governor level, you've got Winsome and you've got Spamberger. Spamberger wouldn't answer the question. So she literally was dodge. And so we need to know where these people stand. And if you're dodging, I'm I'm deeply concerned.
There should be no
There should be no dodging. You should be able to
Yeah.
stand up and say parental consent for all things, especially, I mean, ironically, in straight up politics in Virginia, I mean, parental rights is what got Governor Youngkin
Yes,
his.
they still have not learned that
so,
lesson.
stand with the parents. That's the win, always.
That's right. Stand with parents. That is basically our tagline. We are stronger when we speak together. So be sure and share this episode. You can do so by sharing the YouTube playlist, Speak Up Virginia. You can get there again by going to our website, familyfoundation.org. Just go to the YouTube channel, share this episode. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple or one of those, give us that 5-star review if you appreciate the information we're bringing, because that helps us reach more people. So thanks for standing with us. We'll see you next time.